All right, good morning, TikTok and/or YouTube. How y'all doing? Karma Collector here. All right, guys. All right, if this is TikTok, listen, please, listen to this all the way through, man. Repost it, like it, leave a little comment, please. If you are interested and you don't already subscribe to me over on YouTube, I got two channels. One of them is just Karma Collector, and the other one is called Gypsy Rose, Not a Mom. All right, I'm still in timeout on my regular Karma Collector one because they gave me a strike and that I couldn't post for a week. All right, I'm still riding that out. But I have those two accounts over there. All right, and this is what I need to talk about today, man. Because the very last video I made on TikTok, and I guess it was the last one I probably close to the last one I posted over on YouTube. I'm not sure, but I'm talking about telling you there's no way Gypsy Rose Blanchard ever gave birth, shouldn't have a baby, and I'm just simply pointing out the divorce. The divorce alone tells you. You don't even need anything else besides that. Of course, I give you other stuff, but you don't, that's all you need, okay? And someone has to come in the comments and say, no, the paternity didn't need to be established because they already knew. It was already proven that it wasn't Ryan's, okay? And I'm not going to even say who this person's name is because I'm not sure who they are, but they go, it looks to me like, because they use the same icon thing. Like the little thing of mine, I have the same picture of me from like 10 years ago. That's like a 10-year-old picture of me there that I just happen to have, you know. So I use that. Well, she uses the same one, but goes under different names. And it's always in support of Gypsy, right? So I'm not even going to say anything about that. But she comes in saying that, oh no, and then of course, so now everyone can see the comment in there and try to doubt what I'm saying here, that it doesn't make sense that she's pregnant on the 9th and going to give birth it's supposed to be the end of January, the next month, and the judge just doesn't continue it. Of course he would have. And everyone knows it. But she says, she's arguing with people in the comments going, you know, and of course I don't delete people's comments and censor people. I don't do that. But she's going, oh, you know, oh, being a smart ass passive aggressive. Oh no, honey, it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be in the court papers. It doesn't have to be anything to do with it because they already had proven it wasn't Ryan's. All right, now the only way that could possibly be, because she hadn't given birth yet, is relying on this non-invasive deal. All right, guys, listen. They do not use non-invasive for legal purposes at all. If they won't use it to establish someone as the father, they're not going to rely on it to rule someone out. There was no way any judge legally viewed anyone as the father of any children on that day. All right? That's not true. The non-invasive, guys, listen to me. First of all, you have to get a blood sample from the mother. And I believe she tried to say that she got a swab. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I might be wrong about that. But you got to get blood from her, and then you get a swab from the man. All right. What it's doing is in the woman, in the plasma. If you take a tube of the woman's blood and you spin it down, in the plasma, they're able to isolate free strands of DNA that are somehow flowing freely in the mother's bloodstream, but they're not encased in a cell. So it's a separate, and it comes up 99% accurate. However, they do not use it in court. It is for commercial use only. What those non-invasives are for other things, really. They're to look for anomalies and things. But you can also just get one for your personal use. Okay? And then if say you're a woman and you slept with a couple guys and you don't know, but everyone's friendly and, you know, you find out which one it is. Okay, at that point, then you all go to child support. Then you go to child support enforcement or through the court or whatever, and then they're going to order another one. All right, they don't just do it this way, you guys. They don't just take your DNA. So as DNA is DNA, and they have it on file somewhere, and they're going to compare it. This is not a situation like 23andMe and those other ones where you send in and they do your DNA from your saliva. Paternity testing is a comparative study. It's a comparative analysis. Okay, you're taking the father's DNA and the mother's DNA because the mother is known. We know that's the mother, right? Of course we know that's the mother, okay? And there are certain genes that are, they're all, the genes are all or nothing. They either take one from the father or they take it from the mother, all the way down. Every gene, either one comes from either comes from the father or comes from the mother. Everything, okay? There are certain things, they use certain markers and they compare the three. The samples have to be sent together. The samples have to arrive in the lab together, all of them. All right? And the baby has to be born in here. But what I'm telling you, that's the way it has to be done. Okay? With this non-invasive shit, they cannot use that in court. Okay? So, okay, this is sort of how it works on a very simple level. There's like so many markers, like 9 or something, okay, that they use that it has to either be it has to be either what the mother's is or the father's is on this certain plate. All right? And if it's coming up that it's the same as the mother, well then, okay, well then this person could still be the father then, right? Now, if it's coming up one of them where it's not the mother, right? Then it has to be contributed from the father, has to be. And if that doesn't match the guy that they're alleging is the father, if it doesn't match one of those and it doesn't go with the mother's, then he is eliminated. Like a good one is blood type. Like, okay, guys, like, that's why the results say it's only a 1 in a trillion whatever fucking chance that it could be anyone else's but the father. Mine said the opposite when I had it in high school, but I wasn't. It was like a 1 in a trillion millions case that basically there wasn't a snowball's chance in hell that I contributed. My DNA contributed to her, the child, or whatever, right? And one of them that went was our blood types. Okay, your blood type has to be your mother's or your father's. It has to be. They don't mix. Some people like to say, "Oh well, if you get A and an O together, they mix and they can make B, or A and B can make AB." No. You're either A, B, O, or AB. Okay, RH factor, something else that we're not talking about that. And if your blood type is the same as the mother's, well then, okay, well then it could be anyone, right? But if it's not either the mother or the father, then we know it's the mother's the mother, so then that's not the father either. Example, this was if the mother's A and the father's O and the kid is B or AB, that's not the father then. Okay, but if the mother's A and the baby's A, then it could be anyone, right? So when they match so many of these markers up that it has to be that's the father then. All right, it's a comparative study. They don't just do it willy-nilly like they want you to believe. And they don't do it that way, guys. And the only reason, and one of my friends, the family law attorney who's handled over 500 divorce cases, all right, he's the one that told me, and I didn't think about it like that. He said, do you know what a quandary they would have been in if they would have done what they would have had to do if she really had a baby? They would have waited, of course, until after the baby was born. But then, since it's fake, and we all know she doesn't really have a baby, that judge would have to lie in a bunch of paper, would have to lie through the whole thing as if there was really a baby that was born. And the judge isn't going to do that. So they had to do it this way, and that's why they did the non-invasive. They would have never tried to do that, guys, man. They would, if it was really a baby born, there's no rush. Because he said they would have been stuck in that judge would have been stuck having to make a verbal pronouncement in court and in the paperwork that, because he told me, he says, no. Ryan was her husband. It doesn't matter what. It has to be pronounced that he is not responsible in any way for this minor child that's on its way or here. They would never do it. They always wait. They have to pronounce it. And what if the baby dies? What if what if she got a bad car wreck and the baby didn't even make it? They don't do this shit because they would have to pronounce that he is not responsible for it. Man, this guy's done 500 divorces, man. He said it has to be stated. and it would have been. And the judge would have had to go along with, she really had a baby and all this shit, and lied in open court in his pronouncement and gone along with the paperwork. And that is why they had to pull it off this way. Come on, guys. This is what they're doing. Don't let them fool you. Do not let them trick you, man. You cannot accept that non-invasive for legal purposes at all, period. Which means you can't rule someone out. You cannot say, well, the judge knew it was Ken, so it didn't have anything to do with Ryan, so we just won't talk about it. No. No. If there really was a baby, they would have waited 100%, and then it would have been stated in there that Ryan Anderson is not responsible for this minor child, no support, nothing, not at all. Boom. And probably would have named Ken Urker's name, even, depending on the jurisdiction. See you in the next one, guys.